If you're planning to fly to the U.S. this summer, you might notice fewer flight options. New data shows a massive drop in demand for air travel between Canada and the U.S., forcing airlines to cut seats and scale back routes.
Tourism in Las Vegas is in a big slump this summer, costing the city billions of dollars. Some are saying that could signal trouble ahead for the U.S. economy.
We've obviously seen the very visible and visceral reaction from markets to U.S. policies.
America has seen economic storms before, but nothing like this. Tonight, the story that is shaking every household, every business, and every community across the nation, Canada has struck back with a massive 500% tariff in retaliation for Trump's trade war. The fallout is devastating. 1 million American jobs destroyed, supply chains shattered, and a president furious but unable to stop the tide. This is not just about tariffs. This is about livelihoods, survival, and the unraveling of a system Americans once believed unshakable. And if you're watching right now, make sure to subscribe to Traveling Vibes to stay ahead of these historic events. Imagine a world where the very neighbor America has always relied on, its closest ally, its partner in trade, suddenly becomes its fiercest opponent. That is exactly what has happened. For decades, Canada and the US shared one of the largest and most stable trading relationships in history. Goods flowed freely across the border, industries thrived, and millions of jobs depended on that steady exchange. But when Trump unleashed his tariffs, targeting Canadian steel, aluminum, lumber, and even agricultural goods, Ottawa could not sit silently. Prime Minister Mark Carney responded with a counterpunch so severe that it has left the U.S. economy staggering. 500% tariffs on American exports. At first, the numbers seemed abstract, percentages, billions of dollars, trade balances. But soon, the reality hit home. Farmers in Iowa saw their grain shipments collapse overnight. Auto workers in Michigan watched factories go dark as parts shipments were canceled. Tech companies in California reported soaring costs as supply lines across the border froze. One by one, industries that depended on Canadian partnerships began to unravel. The result? 1 million American jobs wiped out in weeks. Trump's fury was immediate and explosive. He called Canada's move an act of betrayal, lashing out in fiery speeches, promising to crush Canada with even harsher measures. But the truth is undeniable. The US cannot afford to lose this battle. Canada is not just another trading partner. It is America's largest customer, its closest ally, and the backbone of countless industries. When Canada slammed the door with tariffs, it wasn't just a diplomatic statement. It was an economic earthquake. And this is where the story deepens. The 500% tariff is not random. It's strategic. Canada targeted industries that are politically sensitive in the US: agriculture, manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, and energy. These are the sectors that provide millions of middle-class jobs, the very base of Trump's political support. The retaliation was designed to hurt ordinary Americans, not just corporations. It was designed to send a message. You cannot bully Canada without consequences. The pain is already visible. In the Midwest, farmers who once shipped soybeans and corn north across the border are now watching crops rot in silos. In Detroit, assembly lines have slowed, workers furloughed, shifts canceled. In Texas, oil refineries that depended on Canadian imports are cutting staff. Across small towns, restaurants, trucking companies, and suppliers tied to those industries are collapsing. This isn't just about numbers. It's about communities being hollowed out politically. The backlash is ferocious. Trump's supporters, once cheering his America First stance, are beginning to feel the sting of job losses and rising costs. Families who once praised tariffs as a way to protect American industry are now asking, protect us from what? From work? From income? From stability? Critics accuse Trump of triggering the largest self-inflicted economic wound in modern history. Allies in Congress are panicking, warning that the political cost could be just as devastating as the economic one. But there's another layer, the global stage. Other nations are watching closely. If Canada can defy Washington with such boldness, why not others? Already, the European Union is signaling that it may impose its own tariffs if Trump continues his trade war. China is quietly applauding, using the chaos to deepen its influence worldwide. America, once the unquestioned leader of global trade, now appears isolated, stumbling, and weakened. The human toll is heartbreaking. Picture a family in Ohio. The father, an auto worker, laid off after the factory closed. The mother, a nurse, now facing skyrocketing costs for imported medical supplies. Their teenage son, working part-time at a restaurant, sees hours cut because fewer customers are eating out. Multiply that story by 1 million, and you see the scale of this crisis. Families across the nation are experiencing the ripple effects of a single political gamble. Meanwhile, Canada is standing tall. Far from collapsing under Trump's tariffs, Canada has rallied. Its industries are redirecting exports to Europe and Asia. Its farmers are signing new contracts with China and India. Its government is investing billions in homegrown production, turning the crisis into an opportunity. Mark Carney has emerged as a symbol of resilience, portraying Canada as the small but mighty nation willing to confront its giant neighbor and win. Trump's anger grows, but his options shrink. More tariffs risk further collapse. Backing down risks political humiliation. Caught in this trap, his administration scrambles for solutions. Emergency subsidies for farmers, tax breaks for manufacturers, temporary deals with other nations. But none of these band-aids can cover the wound. The simple truth is this. When Canada hit back with a 500% tariff, it exposed America's dependence in a way no one expected. And here's the most shocking part. Experts warn this is only the beginning. If the standoff continues, job losses could double. Prices for everyday goods, from groceries to gasoline, could surge beyond reach. The very idea of American economic strength could be rewritten in real time. Historians may one day look back at this moment as the turning point when America's dominance began to crumble, not because of a war, not because of a disaster, but because of a trade war with its closest friend. As hours turn into days, the stories of struggle multiply. In Wisconsin, dairy farmers dump milk they cannot sell. In Pennsylvania, steelworkers join unemployment lines that grow longer every week. In California, logistics companies see contracts vanish. And in Washington, politicians scramble for answers they don't have. Every headline, every statistic, every interview paints the same picture. This is a collapse, and it is happening now. So here's the twist that most people aren't even talking about. When Canada slapped those shocking 500% tariffs, it wasn't just about punishing US trade policies, it was about restructuring global alliances in a way that could permanently tilt the balance of power. Think about it. For decades, the US has positioned itself as the indispensable nation in trade. But with this single move, Canada signaled to the world that it doesn't need Washington's approval to act decisively. That's the real earthquake here. Not just the job losses, not just the factories shutting down, but the symbolism of America being openly defied by a neighbor it once took for granted. Now let's break this down further, because every piece of this story deserves attention. First, the economic hit. Over 1 million American jobs are directly or indirectly tied to industries affected by these tariffs. From auto manufacturing to agriculture, from steel to energy supply chains, these sectors aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They represent livelihoods, families, and entire towns. Imagine communities in Michigan, Ohio, or Pennsylvania waking up to see contracts evaporating overnight. These aren't slow declines. They're sudden collapses that leave people stunned. And while Washington argues about policy, ordinary Americans are the ones paying the price. But here's where it gets even more brutal. Canada's move is being celebrated internationally. Why? Because countries like Germany, India, Brazil, and even Australia see this as a blueprint for how to push back against American tariffs. Canada, often seen as quiet on the world stage, has suddenly become a symbol of defiance, a middle power showing the world how to play hardball. And trust me, this is going to echo far beyond Ottawa and Washington. Let's not forget the political fallout inside the US. Trump is furious, but fury doesn't fix markets, fury doesn't bring back contracts, and fury doesn't stop factories from going dark. The cracks are widening within his own administration. Advisors are split. Some urge immediate retaliation, while others warn that doubling down could spark an all-out trade war North America can't contain. Think about it. A fractured White House trying to handle an economic firestorm, all while facing re-election pressure. That's not just chaos, that's political suicide waiting to happen. Now here's the kicker, and this is where things get really uncomfortable. Many US corporations saw this coming. Ford, Tesla, and even major tech firms have been quietly diversifying their operations outside the US for years, moving plants to Mexico, shifting supply chains to Asia, and expanding in Canada. Why? Because they anticipated instability in U.S. trade policy. In other words, corporate America has already bet against Washington. And when your own companies start hedging against your policies, that's when the writing is on the wall. So where does this leave us? On one side, you've got the U.S., angry, isolated, and watching jobs vanish. On the other, you've got Canada, confident, decisive, and suddenly the unlikely hero of international trade. This is a reshuffling of the global economic deck, and if you're watching this, you're witnessing history unfold in real time. And let me leave you with this final thought. This story isn't about just tariffs, it's about power. Power to set the rules, power to dictate the flow of goods, power to decide who thrives and who collapses. For years, the US held that power almost unchallenged. Today, Canada just proved that even giants can stumble. So if you found this breakdown eye-opening, make sure you subscribe to Traveling Vibes right now, because we are bringing you the stories others won't touch, the deeper angles others won't explore, and the raw analysis that connects the dots. Don't just watch history, understand it, question it, and stay ahead of it.